Today I'm trying to do some sound design, and I need to do a bit of voice acting myself. I'm putting together the first 2 minutes of We All Fall, and hello, I don't know if you can see me. Basically the first 2 minutes is very much driven by the sound design. So we're going to have gunshots, we're going to have a newscast, so we've got a newscaster who did a voiceover for us. I'm also building up quite a dramatic sequence from voiceover elements. You can see there's already quite a lot of tracks in there already, which is mostly gunfire, which was actually recorded on bonfire night, so it's mostly fireworks going off. Couple of voice acting elements which I need to add to. I need to do some Foley, and I've realised that basically for I think something like 30 seconds of dramatic action, I need to add I think another 17 individual elements, so that's voice elements and Foley and pre-recorded. So yeah, so I estimate for this 2 minutes of opening title it's probably going to take me, I don't know, 2 or 3 days work. If there's one thing I learned about doing Foley, it's don't sneeze really loudly when you've got a microphone nestled in your chest and a pair of headphones on turned up really loud. But anyway, what I'm doing today is some Foley for We All Fall. So there's the scene that I shared a video about already, where the intro where the soldier's running around, and it's kind of driven by the audio, so it's important to get the sound right. I need some Foley of running footsteps and multiple people running and cowering, and spoilers, getting shot maybe. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to go and run up and down the street. I've got this big hairy mole is actually a microphone with a windshield on it. I don't need to worry about hiding it because I'm not doing any visuals, it's purely just the audio. And this may or may not work, but I've got another microphone with a windshield on the outside of my jeans, so that's to get the running footsteps, and this is to get sort of out of breath. Might have to play with it a bit in post because it's supposed to be men and women running, and maybe I'll breathe a bit too high pitched and girly. I don't know. Anyway, kit, yes. So I'm doing this all off radio mics. So what I've got is a couple of Sennheiser transmitters that I use for voice act. For actors generally, but in this case I'm using them for a fairly specific application. But what I'm going to do is run around with this handheld like a complete idiot. So this is the smallest field recorder that I own. Oh look, you can see I'm talking, we've got a signal, hooray. So this is my smallest field recorder, a Tascam DL70D. It's really nice. I moved away from it because it doesn't do things like time code. There's a few other little niggles about it, but on the whole it's a really nice sounding unit. I still use it as a backup recorder. And I've used posh, expensive Velcro to attach a couple of receivers to it. So I'm going to run up and down the street holding this and try not to get arrested. And because this is Foley, the other thing I need are various shoes with different soles to make it sound like it's not just me running up and down. There you go. Okay, exciting. I'm going to go and freak the postman out a bit. So I recorded some Foley yesterday as me running around, and as an experiment I taped a microphone to my jeans. And like the massive idiot I am, I didn't realise they'd kind of flap around like bell bottoms and make a fairly unpleasant low frequency noise as I was running. So that's fine, you can filter it out, but I thought it was a good chance to have a go at this Izotope spectral repair tool. Now, if you've not seen something like this before, now I'm lucky in that I'm quite familiar with this sort of plot because I used to work in the oil and gas industry fixing seismic data, so that's sound data but that was used for imaging the earth. So this isn't that alien to me, so I've kind of just jumped in without reading the manual, but that's okay. So yeah, this is a plot of the sound, but I just prove that to you. So you can hear footsteps that are quite high frequency, sort of high pitched noise, but you've also got that whooshing noise of the my jeans flailing around, which is kind of annoying. But what this plot is time along this distance, so literally just as the playhead moves along, that's the samples in time. Up this axis is frequency, so low frequencies down here are very bright, and bright means loud. So these are very bright because that's my jeans going whoosh, whoosh, whoosh as I run. So in theory, because that noise is isolated in both time and frequency, we should be able to remove at least some of it. And what we do is we remove it and then we interpolate back good data. And interpolation just means taking the good data points around the bit you've removed to reconstruct the data that you've removed. Okay, anyway, I've been playing with this and I've found it's got this cool tool that looks like a magic wand. So if I click where these bright amplitudes are, it assumes that's what I want to remove. And then if I go over here, I'm telling it to interpolate in 2D, but it's not ideal because there's nothing. This is the stereo field, so there's two here, left and right. There's nothing lower frequency, so the interpolation in this direction is not going to be great. And because there's the noise is quite continuous, there's not a whole lot to interpolate in this direction either. So we're giving it actually quite a hard thing to do, but it seems to be working. So if I process that, those bright spots have now gone much less bright. So if I play that back, you can still hear it as a high frequency whip, but you've lost that low frequency component of it. So what I'm going to do now is work my way along, magically process all of the blobs, and hopefully, if I can do something about the higher frequencies as well, we should end up with something quite good. And just, yeah, let's just quickly finish that. I'm sure this is fascinating to people who've got no interest in noise, but screw you guys, basically. So what we end up with, it's not without artifacts, but once it's in the mix, you are hearing the footsteps much more strongly. Can I go back to the original? No, that's not working. Marvellous. I know it'll work. Undo, 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 undo. Okay, now we're back to the original. It's considerably better than it was, so I call that a win. Thank you, bye, bye, bye.